the parallel that I saw there, and I think you agree with me so far on the parallel, is having to do with Hayek's information problem that he points out related to central decision making versus what could maybe be called decentralized decision making or dispersed information decision making. And I think that there's an analogy to be drawn there because at the root, both circumstances have to do with information problems. Okay? So before we kind of back up and make the analogy with Facebook and what he is asking, like you said, not only Facebook, but the government to be forcing Facebook to do. And I think probably my basic question is it even possible or efficient for them to do this? Let's see if we can explain what the analogy is. Okay. And so this is the way I would put that, is that if you, when you have a centrally planned economy, and maybe I'll back up a little bit more than that, economies in general, the reason for the discipline of economics is that we have scarce resources that we have to allocate. We have limited resources that we have to allocate. And then just the fact that resources are scarce, or just the fact that resources exist, doesn't tell us what use they will be put to. So we have to make decisions about not only their scarcity, the lack of them being infinite, but that we also have to make decisions about what end we will put them to. Okay, and so different ways of organizing economies have to do with what will we do with those resources and what specific ways will we allocate and use resources. And there's a couple of, you could envision kind of a continuum. On one end of the continuum being like a command-based economy, on another end of a continuum, a market-based economy. And a command-based economy is allocating those resources from in a central decision-making process. Right? And a market-based economy is allocating those resources in a decentralized way.
That's right.
Okay. And so another way that I envision that a lot of times is a push force versus a pull force. So a central decision-making body or group of bodies would be attempting to push resources out to their end users. And a market-based system would be pulling resources to their most valued end through the market mechanisms. Okay? And so what Hayek pointed out, or at least the way I understand it, pointed out was that there's an information problem being solved there or being addressed there. And so where resources are needed, that's an information question, right? And so if I'm a central decision maker, I'm trying to solve that information problem. I'm trying to know all the information that is needed to understand where do these resources need to go, when do they need to get there, what quantities do they need to get there. And he basically said there's a problem in trying to do that from a central location because you lack the amount of information, the right information, whereas dispersed knowledge of all of the users, the nodes of the system, if you will, have more pertinent and more relevant information in real time to make those decisions in a better way. And so that was kind of the analogy that I thought worked for the situation with Facebook with ideas. So are they even equipped to make those types of decisions from a central location? Could the government say, we can make all these dispersed decisions about what types of information, not even regarding the other questions of like free speech and that kind of stuff, but are they even equipped to do that in an efficient fashion, in a useful fashion, anything like that? So I guess maybe that's enough of an introduction to that idea. Do you think that I've fairly explained the economic point?
Yeah. That was a fair intro, not only to my little view on one little edit, I'd say, is to me, and this is being influenced by Peter Boetke at George Mason University and people like this and some of his colleagues. For me, economics isn't about efficient resource allocation or efficiency maximization. It's about exchange, right, and understanding the very complex social order that comes with that. But having said that, certainly it is true that markets are much less inefficient. You could say even more efficient than a planned economy. And one of the reasons, clearly, because of that, or the reason why, is, as you said, when you have, let's say, billions of people in a global economy, each having their own dispersed, tacit knowledge, decentralized knowledge, and knowledge of their own ends, things that they want, things that they might be willing to trade resources for, property, money, and the fact that their ends change all the time, right? I don't even know how I'm going to end this particular sentence.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Right. So the arguments for command economy comes. Well, there've been different shades of them, but assuming that that a centralized decision maker, and Hayek brings this up not only in The Use of Knowledge in Society, his paper, I think first published in 1945, but also his book The Fatal Conceit, which is a great book also. He argues that the centralized decision maker would have to be getting feedback from all the people within an economy in real time, right? So he can know where to allocate it next, right? But again, people's ends change all the time, right?
So why don't just read and me as a pedestrian economist? To me, that just is like you already have to have that information from the people on the ground. So if it's a command structure...
Wait, who already has it?
Well, so if it is a command structure, as we're talking about that term, to make that decision, apart from math or politics, you still need that guy on the ground to say, hey, like, how many bags of rice are we really putting out? To fabricate your lie, even, you still need to talk to them. So the point is, they are the source of the information, right?
The people on the ground.
Why rise above, keep as close to that metric for your decision making, right? Because that's where the information lies, as opposed to going up. Because, then you're just transferring information. Like, we know how the telephone game works. You lose information by the time you get all the way around. Anyway, that's my little